If you've played any action game, you'll notice how iframes greatly affects the gameplay. As described by Sydney Butler, this is a short period of time measured in frames per second of an animation where your character is invincible, hence iframes. It can be implemented in various ways, the most notable of which is right after the player takes damage. This is a type of forgiveness mechanic where the player is given leniency so mistakes aren't unfairly punished. Additionally, it can be present when the player initiates an action such as a dodge roll or dash. In this case, players can use this to avoid damage altogether. In his blog post on implementing iframes into Unity, Alexander describes the process as follows. The event that triggers the iframe occurs, the player gets hit, dashes, rolls, etc., and the player will enter a state of invulnerability, usually for as short as half a second. Every time the player's hurt box collides with a hitbox while they are in this state, no damage will get registered. This is often accompanied by a visual indicator such as the character flashing white that communicates to the player that they have this time to recuperate. Therefore, iframes can greatly inform combat mechanics, as players will often manipulate this minuscule amount of time to their advantage. While in combat, the player can dodge hazards while using the opportunity presented by iframes to reposition themselves and get the upper hand on the next attack. This gameplay loop encourages different playing styles, as players who enjoy high risk, high reward are encouraged to play aggressively and prioritize timing and precision to defeat an enemy. It can also be considered beneficial for the developers, avoiding situations where, for example, a player may dash away from an enemy but slightly clip their hitbox, resulting in damage that appears unfair or undeserved. Having full invulnerability in the forms of iframes during a dodge action easily creates a much smoother and enjoyable combat experience for the player. A game in which iframes greatly impacted my personal gameplay and decision-making process was Hollow Knight. This action-adventure Metroidvania features iframes when getting damaged and during two distinct skills, Shade Cloak and Desolate Dive. Shade Cloak is unlocked through exploration and is found in the Abyss. The game describes it as an upgrade to the regular dash that allows you to dash through enemies and their attacks without taking damage. Until this is unlocked, the player is restricted to a dash without any iframes. By unlocking this upgrade, my gameplay was able to change dramatically, as countless new areas that were previously guarded by shade gates suddenly became accessible. It essentially became a second wind to my motivation for exploring each nook and cranny of Hollow Knight's expansive map, and allowed me to progress further through its story. Additionally, my combat style became more aggressive. With Shade Cloak, my moment-to-moment decision-making process was focused more on inflicting damage now that there was a viable way to easily dodge attacks. Similarly, my combat was affected by unlocking Desolate Dive, a spell that strikes the ground in a shockwave and gives 0.4 seconds of invincibility. This became a way to recover from being overwhelmed by a large group of enemies or an unexpected attack. Desolate Dive allowed me to avoid incoming damage using the iframes, as well as inflicting AoE damage and using that short amount of time to reposition myself. Before this, I would find myself panicking and tanking the regular damage in order to use those iframes to reset, something that was not viable as I progressed through the harder enemies and boss fights. Overall, Hollow Knight's unique implementations of iframes aided the development of my combat skills, as well as add intrigue to the exploration gameplay.